Okay, where are we starting here?
Yeah, so this is a continuation of our kind of state of ILD check-in. So this is,
How do you manage to misspell recursion here? I guess you switched off the spell
so,
checker,
yeah,
which is a bad idea. Okay. All right. So anyway, go ahead.
yep. So these are various projects that are either in the queue or something that we've talked about and kind of circling back to make sure we're prioritizing things reasonably. This is something we'll talk about in a little more detail, but it's the idea of normal is a pretty broad
Yes,
function in
and
terms of what it
usefully
does.
so.
Usefully so, but there are a number of cases where
I
it
agree.
it does things that are a little tricky. One proposal we have that we've talked with Rob a little bit about is to set like a recursion level. Basically
Yes.
say
Normal
normal
does
is
not
equal
have a
to.
second argument right now.
It
Yes, it does.
does have a second argument, which is the heads to operate on.
Oh, okay. I didn't know it had that.
But it doesn't work in all
Well,
cases.
maybe it should be made to work better.
Yeah. I mean, there's also a case to be made where you want it to work on
Well,
all
I
I
think
heads,
we
mean,
but
want
just
two
I
work
think,
cases.
with. Yeah.
We
well,
want
one of
the
the problems with
yeah.
normal is its inconsistency, right? Some heads it recurses into, and others it doesn't.
Okay.
Um,
Well, okay. So look. To me, it seems like I mean, normal is a big sledgehammer,
Hmm.
and it was intended that way, and it's useful because it is that way,
Right.
right? Um, I think having a second argument that could be an integer that is a level is perfectly sensible. I think that having the list of heads is sensible. I didn't even know it had that. Um, we should make sure that it is actually correct and has everything that normal can apply to. Like for example, look at that. Tabular is missing. So this is unmaintained CRUD right now.
Not unmaintained. I mean, right. So something that was just introduced is apparently not updated.
Yeah, okay. So fine.
But
So we just should let's review this and make sure it's really up to snuff. In
Hmm.
terms of, could we annotate something with, data set arrow two or something to represent two levels? I think we're getting very persnickety there. I think you're much better off just mapping at a particular level or something like this if you really want to get that detailed.
Yeah, I think that makes sense. I think that the use cases where you want to have a fixed recursion level and fixed heads to apply it to are minimal enough that
Yeah.
general syntax doesn't
All right.
well,
So
necessarily.
mapping and recursion level are not the same thing,
I know
right?
that.
Yeah.
Okay. So I
So,
think we've got a proposal here. Let's see it in more detail. Let's see normal itself get cleaned up.
Hmm.
Let's move on. Okay, actually, I want to just bring something up which I is driving me crazy, and which is the random seeding option and things like random sample.
right. Well, I mean, the random seeding option tells functions which are not random generators how to seed the
I
rand.
know. So let me tell you what my use case is, okay? I have
Okay.
code all the time where I just want one random sample, okay? And my typical code is, random sample of blah, 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 comma, and then what I really want is random seeding arrow, whatever, because I don't want to have to put a whole seed random semicolon, blah, blah,
Well, you
blah.
don't, right? You can just use block random. Oh, you want something completely
I want something completely deterministic,
thick.
right? I'm just writing a piece of code.
Right.
I,
Well, yeah, okay. I mean, I don't think this is the right venue to be discussing
all
this.
right, okay, but I
But
want to make sure we do discuss this because I
okay,
think
fine. It's on.
it's a simple thing.
You sent it to TLCC.
All
It'll
right,
be
okay,
on the
okay, okay, okay,
LCC
okay, okay,
agenda.
all right, all right, all right, all right, fine. Uh, okay, table while. I
This is
seem
another.
to need this with some frequency, but I don't know whether this is the right syntax for it. I mean, really what I want is I want it to go, maybe table already does this. I don't even know. I have no okay, table I, if I greater than 10, what do I do? Return. Otherwise, I.
eh, That's
No,
not great behavior.
No,
I mean,
but
it is.
I don't know what but this is fundamentally what I want.
I think this is something for throw and catch.
Yes, but it isn't. But it isn't quite. I agree that the catch would be nice, but really, what I want
I'm
is that.
talking about what works now.
Yeah, no, I know. But I mean, it doesn't work to do this. You don't get the rest of the table. What I want is the table up to something where there's a condition for termination.
Mhm.
Mm.
I mean, maybe the right thing to do is a syntax for table in which
No.
in the iterator.
No.
I mean, we could extend the iterator notation to have a fourth condition or something like that.
And my answer would still be no.
Well, we need some way to do this.
Fine, then we can create some new function to do this, but changing table would be a mistake.
I mean, also there's the multidimensional case and so on, which is complicated. Right? What do we do?
Yeah.
Right.
Do we have a condition for each iterator, or do we have a global condition?
I think we want a global condition, really.
Yeah.
And it will be mostly for one-dimensional iterators.
Mm-hmm.
Well, each iterator can see the previous iterators, I think.
Yes. Yes. But I mean, I'm saying, right, each smaller scale, faster turning wheel can see the slower turning ones.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Nick is suggesting a resource function that he probably wrote called list builder.
Not familiar with that one.
There's a one. Oh, I see. So it's a table-like thing with a test as an argument. That's interesting. That's pretty much what we want. I mean, I don't know whether the syntax is right, but that's the functionality we want.
But this is about selection more than termination.
Right.
Oh, I'm sorry. That's not what we want. We want the termination case, because you can always, in the selection case, you can always say if blah 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 nothing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Or just run select afterwards, which would probably be more efficient. Well,
Well,
maybe.
no, it wouldn't be more efficient if
No,
you've got a
no.
giant thing. So in this case, right, we can do that, but that's very inefficient.
No. Well, it depends on the input, right? If it's packed, right? If you introduce nothings, it's unpackable.
Okay,
Whereas,
so I'm going to make it inefficient. There we go.
right, which is why I'm saying that, select could be faster
Okay,
than
but we clearly
than
want something which will actually return without you having to do 20 million cases.
sure. I'm not saying right. I'm not saying people shouldn't write this. I'm just saying that the selection case has, you
Yeah,
know,
the semantics is there.
has multiple solutions, some more efficient than others.
Right. The semantics is there, but we want something which allows you easily to take the iterator variable and return, you know, I mean, it is something like table while, but I don't like the syntax. I mean, it's almost like it could be table while and then expa, comma, condition, comma, iteration.
Iterator.
So that would then look like table while, I squared, I less than 10, I 20. It's not
Right.
absolutely
Which
terrible.
would be, which would of course be a ridiculous use of this, but
No, I mean, this particular example is obvious.
yes.
Right. So that's what I preliminarily suggest. Okay, let's keep going. What is this? What does that mean?
So there was a this is pulled from a thread we had a while ago where there was a
No
request to
pun
look at
intended.
extending yeah, of extending our thread functions to cover different cases we don't have. I haven't thoroughly
Oh, like map
investigated.
thread, you mean?
Yeah, yeah.
I
So
don't I don't know. I don't understand this. We need more detail.
okay. Next one has more concrete proposal. So this snap is a function we proposed a little while ago. The
Did
idea
we green
being
light it?
we did
I thought we
greenlight
did
it.
greenlight it. Yeah.
Danny has a provisional implementation in it, at least for numeric cases, that's in prototype builds that can be played with. We still need to kind of evaluate and extend it to handling other objects like geopositions or dates, etc. That one's in the pipeline.
I do not particularly like the tolerance option. It seems to me that like round, for example, actually, I don't quite understand why there are two arguments here. What is snap? Snap is
So
snapping to that second argument, right?
yeah, so there's both a tolerance and effectively a grid to snap to.
I see.
So we need to say, by the basic case is I want to snap to integers if I'm
Right.
within machine tolerance or something like that. But you
Okay.
may
So
want
so
to,
you might say snap of a geoposition
mhm.
to within a list of countries.
Yeah, I suppose that would be a reasonable case.
Like, give me one of those. And then my tolerance would presumably be a 3 miles or
3 mile,
something.
yeah, if we're on the boundary there, but if we're way outside of it, don't, if I'm in
I
Australia,
mean,
don't snap me to the United States
what's that?
because
If you're what? If you're on an
if my
oil rig.
position given was in Australia, I obviously don't want to snap over to the
Right. And
US.
if you're on a boat that's
Yep.
a mile out off the coast, you probably want to snap to the United States.
Right. Yep. That's the idea, is that we want to be able to control both those parameters, the grid that you snap to and how far away you can tether to that grid without
Right. So
investigating.
round,
Although, I
yeah,
mean,
go ahead.
right, this is real, I mean, these are qualitatively quite different, right? Because a grid is a bunch of points, and I presume we're not snapping to the geographic center of the United States, but
No, but
what does it
Itai,
mean
here's
to
the deal.
snap?
Here's the deal. Look, here's the point. That when you give a grid, I don't know what this is here, but when you give, oh, I see. You're saying so the default is snap of x bar comma dx, where
The
dx
right
is the
or
snap grid, where by default the actual snap grid is n times dx.
right.
Yeah.
Yes,
Okay.
we had discussed some shift. Like in general, it would be ndx plus x0
Yes. How do you represent that? And you also might
with a
want it
pair,
to. I see.
like dx comma x0.
Okay. Well, so maybe I retract this thing here because it's really different,
Well,
as you
I
say.
was thinking perhaps what we could have is some sort of snap to countries, like a domain that defines, at least it is a bit more complicated.
Yeah. I'm not sure if that's right. I mean, this case of snap to this grid, I'm not sure what the most natural way to do the offset is. Uh, do we have other cases of this? So we have snap. I don't know what all these complex number things are. Presumably that's the real and imaginary parts.
Right. Right. It's the lattice in C generated by n times that complex number.
Right.
Right. And I presume I haven't followed with Danny's development, but I presume, right, that could be the pair point one if we're thinking about, numbers, values in R2 rather than C.
I think Danny had
Yes.
implemented the pair, notation. And I've seen
Yes.
did you see that your first line?
Yeah. Yes. There. Okay,
Yep.
but look, there's two meanings. I mean, okay, pair notation could be R2,
Hmm.
or it could be an offset. But I would say that the offset should be a third argument.
Okay.
I kind of think that that's similar to list to pad left and things like that. Maybe I'm wrong. That basically it's snap of expr, comma grid, comma offset.
Yeah, we do have that in round. Is it in round or mod?
We have it
In
in
which,
mod. We have it in
yeah,
mod.
the second argument is a mul is a size, and the third is an offset.
Yes, that's a good point. Right, that's a very good point. So it really is just like mod. I think this
Mhm.
is a sensible design.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah. So this is a idiom I see fairly often in user code where, we have a function and an argument, and we want something
I
that
do.
returns both the
I
argument.
see it. I see this often as well. I do it often.
Yeah. Comap obviously can work, but comap of identity feels a little
It's pretty funky.
funky to get this. It's the main question is this system worthy, or is this just something that people do one-off utilities for?
I do it really often. I mean, paired of F, so the way it would look in code would be paired of F slash at data
Mm.
I
would
have to
give
say,
me,
I relatively rarely do that. I mean, I will do that if I'm like going to do a list plot or something.
yes,
But when I'm doing this in code, I more often use a rule rather than a list for this.
yeah, I don't disagree. And by the time you've got, yeah, I'm not sure about this one.
Yeah,
Okay,
it
well,
feels
sir.
close to association map.
Yeah, it's not completely obvious why this shouldn't just be lookup. Does lookup do something different if I say lookup, why don't we make that work?
I believe when I looked at it, there was some technical limitation, but I don't have that off the top of my
Well,
Okay,
head.
I
I
let's
mean, I
find out.
think
think, well, for one thing, it would change the behavior of if you had the list, one goes to A,
I see.
two goes to A. Um,
Okay, can we please look at this in more detail? Right.
yep. Hmm.
Sandra on our live stream is commenting that he uses paired often. So do I. I mean, I just think it requires further investigation because of I also have increasingly started using rule instead of this.
Hmm. Yeah, I mean, I will admit that I do have the rule case as a probably more frequent case than the list version. I have a bunch of data, and I want to say X goes to f of X.
It's a bit weird to do this.
Yeah.
I mean, then it's beginning to be so hard to remember this that you might as well just have the.
Hmm.
But one of the things that gets me quite a bit is, using hash. I get tangled up and I mean, this is, by the way, something we should bring to the user assistance meeting, is a nice way of renaming I mean, if we had a way of code renaming where if I'd got a hash and I want to name it something other than hash, you know what I'm saying? And do that automatically. That would be
Like
very
the
convenient, wouldn't it?
construct where you have to do something like with x equals hash so that you
No,
can
no, no,
then,
no,
oh
no.
no.
I'm
Okay.
talking about this. I'm talking about hash plus one, hash plus two times. And then what I really want is another level of hash. I really want something. See, this is its
Mm,
own function in there, right?
yeah.
And really what that should be is turning that into a U and making that function U, comma this, okay, like that,
Mm,
for example. And where,
I,
I've basically I built two pieces of code. They both have hashes in them, but they can't merge properly without me going through and renaming a bunch of things.
okay.
And it would be
Right.
nice to be
Yes.
able to
Well,
do. Go
yeah.
ahead.
Well, how does it know if you want the U to be on the outside or on the inside, right? Because possibly you
I
also want.
understand. I understand, which is why there probably should be two autocompletes for the two cases.
Okay.
That's what I'm suggesting. Can we bring that to user assistance, please?
Yeah, I'll pass it along.
There. We should live stream our user assistance meetings. They're pretty interesting. I don't know why we didn't. We didn't. Anyway. Um. I thought we had this with reverse applied. Oh gosh.
It is similar to reverse applied, but in this case, it specifically only swaps two functions rather than reversing the entire argument order. You can also
Does reverse
make a,
applied have a second argument?
oh, I would have to check.
I mean, right. You
Yes.
you should be able to
Yeah.
like specify.
Yeah.
Uh,
So I mean,
right.
this one
Mhm.
here,
Mhm.
your flip function by default
Is
is
reverse
reverse
applied of
applied, comma
two.
two.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. I suppose that's a trivial variation then.
Well, I mean, it's kind of like apply a permutation to the arguments or determine which arguments to use. I don't understand why this isn't something much. Okay, so hold on a second. So the tricky case is I've got a function f and I've got arguments a, b, c, d, e. And then what I want to do is I want to pass into f arguments 2 and 4. Right? So what do I put in f? And I mean, what I could do then is I could say f of hash 1, comma hash or hash 2, comma hash 4 of this. I don't think that's that painful. The only issue, I mean, I don't know. I don't see the point here. It seems like a perfectly reasonable notation. Am I missing something?
And we can do this with operator applied.
Yeah. I mean, that's the example right above that is the operator applied.
Yeah, it has a second argument which specifies which arguments you want to pass. You would just put 2 and 4 there.
Okay, fine. Nothing more to say here.
Mm.
Look, this operator
Yeah.
form of part is related also to this lookup thing that we talked about before. Let us
Mhm.
discuss the generalization of part, please.
Okay.
Mhm.
Yeah. I think those two are obviously.
You know, getting rid of, yes, trim. I mean, I've done this. I have to do this often, getting rid of a bunch of zeros at the beginning of a list, for example.
Mhm. Yeah, we talked about a generalization of this of array trim, where you could basically, the vector case is obviously simpler than the multi-dimensional case.
Right. Where you have to give left, right, left, right.
Yep. Or you say, the automatic case of look for the largest non-empty
Right.
array, subarray.
Well, it's the analog array pad.
Right. But you don't have the index of where you start trimming from in the crop version or trim version.
Okay, so the pattern might default to 0, for example, to trim.
Mhm.
And then the question is, are you trimming left, trimming right?
Yeah. Where is your origin of trimming? And then left and right.
I think array trim is a worthwhile function. I've used it many times.
Okay. Danny and I had a brief discussion about it, and we're going to prototype something.
I thought select now has an index. Selector.
If it does, I missed
Yeah, so I
that.
think this is not relevant. And I
Okay.
think we do need to talk about supplied again, please.
Yeah, it's in the LCC queue. I mean, I think Itai can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think the biggest bottleneck there is senior development time on it.
Yep.
I think Ian's been doing some work on it, and as it relates to trees, but the broader language version of it needs time from Mark or
I think
Rob.
this
Or,
function is stupid, this delete elements function.
Oh.
I've never used it. I forgot that it existed.
We designed it alongside unique elements, which was at one point called all complements. And then what was the third
Unique
one?
elements is useful.
Yeah, I think
Yeah,
I use
yeah.
unique elements all the time.
Yeah, me too.
Have you ever used delete elements?
Never.
I think we should
No,
consider
I
it.
use symmetric difference occasionally, which I think is the
Yes.
other one.
I think we should consider obsoleting this.
Okay.
You know, the alternative to this would be I'm
not sure I understand what that means.
okay, so here's what it means. This is the wrong one. Okay, this is a bad way of saying it, but this is if condition is true, f of x.
Right, but what does
otherwise
condition apply? What does a condition apply to?
x.
I think this is a
No,
combination.
that can't possibly be what that means.
I think what we wanted here is a combination of mappath and position. So you first do position with a pattern, and then you put the result in the third argument of mappath.
Yeah, I understand, but you could also say map conditional applied, right? Map conditional applied.
Well, well, what I understood Jose to be saying is that it's applying the condition to the part spec, not to the expression.
Oh, to the part spec.
No. No. What I was saying is mappath of f, comma expert, comma position of expert, comma pattern.
I understand, but that's a condition that this is,
Well,
I
well,
think this
but
is equivalent to that.
no, because this is going right. That returns the whole thing, whereas what Jose is saying is something that will, give you a list of the resulting things.
No.
No.
I
All
put
right.
it in the chat
All right.
what I wanted.
Well, Jose, wait, did you put it in chat?
I am.
Ian put something also.
Right. Oh, I see.
Yes, but that's exactly what I'm suggesting. Conditional applied, very long, stupid name, but that's exactly the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, okay, I'm sorry, I gave a condition there. You could be, match applied, for example, of pattern says if it matches that pattern, it's F, otherwise it's, identity. I think this is actually rather useful. I think this is a quite elegant thing to put in code. I can imagine a bunch of places in tabular and things like that where that would work. Namely, if, it's almost like the missing family. Right? It's like that fallback thing.
Yeah, presumably that would work. Match applied would work in apply also, and potentially other places.
But this is what is the thing called?
It would need to
what is
be
the fallback
implemented for
thing?
each function, right?
Sorry, what is the fallback?
Missing fallback?
Oh yeah, right. It's sort of reminiscent of missing fallback.
Yeah, this one evaluates the first non-missing.
Right. Well, I think match applied is an interesting thing.
Well, I mean, is this something we could do with supplied?
I'm not sure. Think about it. Let's keep going because we're
But just
like
one comment here is the level at which it will be, because position acts at all levels,
I
map
know, so
naturally
what's
at the first
map
level.
all would do the same, would do that.
Right, exactly. Yep. So that would be the equivalent of what I wrote.
Yeah, exactly.
Mhm.
Oh, whatever. Who cares? Really? Does anybody want this? I'm not.
Its use cases are more limited. I mean, that's a.
I love these these kind of.
I'm trying to
more
soften the
limited.
blow.
So I think
I mean, certainly people want transpose with arbitrary heads.
I think this is more
Yes.
about rugged transposition.
Which is its own can of worms.
Mhm.
The effective precision. What does that even mean?
That means you don't go inside of non-numeric heads. So A bracket 1.0 close bracket will have an effective precision of infinity despite the 1.0.
And what does precision do right now?
I think it gives machine precision. I use effective precision all over the world in both C and top level code.
Doesn't this want to be an option to precision?
It might.
But I think it should be.
No complaint.
Or a second argument to precision.
Yeah, a second argument might make more sense because it's not like you're giving a tolerance setting. You're just saying go inside or don't go inside.
What would be the possible values for the second argument?
Yeah.
Something to the effect of numeric function or all.
I'm not sure that's quite the right name, but
no, it may well not be, but to give
think
the
idea is right. Yeah. I like this. Seems like a sensible thing.
Mm-hmm.
Machine number Q. Yes, we should have this function. This comes up enough in dealing with interfacing with the outside world. We need this.
Okay.
Which is a machine integer Q or machine number Q?
I mean, we have machine number Q already. We don't have machine integer Q exposed.
Right.
It's
and I believe the number Q only works for reals and complexes, maybe. Yeah, but try 2 to the 3.
That'll be
It
false.
sh-
Yeah, which
Yeah,
is wrong.
exactly. So yeah, it doesn't
so we
handle
need machine
integers.
integer Q.
Yeah, that's the point.
Yeah, we have it in the developer context.
Yeah.
We should
Yeah,
just
yeah.
promote it.
The question is just whether to promote.
I think we should promote it. What do we have? Where do we have the word length or the integer, machine integer?
It's dollar word length.
System word length. Yeah. I guess.
Okay.
And we have max machine number, etc.
Okay. Well, I think machine integer Q is worth having.
But word length, how do I say it?
Might be something completely different. Like
It's a sort of a strange name because, I mean, aren't we interested in things like registers perhaps or number lengths?
Yeah, but this is all so flexible. I mean, I don't know what a word length. A word length is not a very well. Look, it used to be the case. I have a 16-bit computer,
Yeah.
type thing, but that sort of gone
Right.
the way of the dodo. I mean,
Right. 64 is the, de facto standard, I guess.
yeah,
But
except that some people have
nonetheless,
128-bit integers and this, that, and the other, and
right. Maybe, but then, often enough that's software implementation on top of 64-bit hardware. I just don't know what to make of that name, that's all.
I mean, it's a somewhat old-fashioned name, but it's a perfectly sensible name. You know.
I think it was. I'm not sure it still is. I don't know. I mean, I guess I shouldn't. We don't want to change it, so
Yeah, I
I'm
mean,
just
we have
commenting on
utilities
the,
like the suggestions bar and autocomplete. You try to type word length and it immediately popped up because it knew that was a reasonable alias. So
well, that's good.
that's a reasonable thing to extend in user interface without having to rename symbols.
Right. And you type in word length into Wikipedia, and what pops up is Word, computer architecture. Word
Yeah.
is the fixed size datum handled as the natural or historical unit of data by the instruction set. So that is absolutely correct.
Okay.
I need to go to another meeting. Sorry.
Okay. Yeah, I think that's a fair argument. All right.
Okay, just very quickly on some of these. Inverse bool, I mean, we've talked about this a bunch of times. Let's just take a look what else we've got here. This is an old thing. Let's echo performance. Well, we got a bunch more stuff to do here. The ray trim again. Well, why didn't it get implemented? Okay, well, got lots of good things to go over. Maybe we should wrap up for today.
I have a question about effective precision, assuming that comes my way. Who do I consult about what we finally decided for the design?
Well,
Because I don't think we did.
We didn't decide it. We didn't decide it.
Yeah,
Okay.
I think we'll prototype it and we'll bring it back. We're not going to just slam
Fair
something
enough.
in without looking
Okay,
at it.
fine.
All right. Talk to you all soon.
All right.
Thanks.
Thanks all.
Later. Thanks.